Hey guys, thanks for joining me. So today I want to talk about music. I haven't been doing a ton of gaming recently. I've been watching VTubers play games. That's kind of been my gaming recently. I did toss in King's Bounty 2 the other night just to check it out real quick. I just don't have a lot of staying power, or things don't stick with me a lot these days. This was like $20. I just grabbed it, figured I'd take a look at it. It seems cool. I am sometimes influenced by VTubers. I did play a little Minecraft, I don't know, a couple weeks ago or something, build a house. Like, that was kind of cool, but Minecraft is still not my game, right? I need to find somebody who's like, I don't know, 20 years younger than me to teach me how to play that. But yeah, I've been listening to music, so I just wanted to share with you guys like a playlist. I made you guys a mixtape, right? So, just bands that I've listened to in the past. I call it like, what's become of bands of my youth, right? So, not all of these bands come from when I was like actually young, right? But younger than I am now. The first song on the list is We Are the Lamb by Kittie. Now I have a visual aid here. So Kittie is an all-female metal band. I believe on Wikipedia they're listed as like alternative metal, and or new metal, and or death metal. I don't know. They're metal. They're awesome. Their lineup is not this big, right? So this is a documentary that they did recently. I don't know if this has a 2018. That's like recent to me, right? It's a handful of years ago, and it basically, it talks about the band and all the different members that have been in the band and the different albums they've released, and it's super cool. If you guys are interested, you should check it out. There is an album associated with this, which I'm realizing I actually haven't listened to yet, so I need to throw that in my car or something so I can check it out. But it's a live album. So their last studio album was I've Failed You, and that was released way back in 2011, I believe. So we're going in kind of chronological order from oldest to most recent. So this is sort of the oldest, album that I consider something newer that I, have been listening to. And I discovered that a handful of years ago, right? But I just wanted to feature them because they're so cool. These girls, God, they started this band when they were like teenagers. They were like 14 or something like that, right? And they got signed to a label and released an album when they were really young, like they were in high school, right? They were touring with Slipknot or something when they were 16 or whatever. It's crazy stuff. Anyway, so the song is super cool. It's the video too is really neat. It's like got this low budget, this zombie movie story to it. It's really fun. But the song is great, and the album is great. I Failed You. I definitely, if you guys enjoy that, I would recommend that you check it out. And their other albums are super cool too. Like, I didn't get the first album, Spit. I didn't get that right when it first released in like 2000. In fact, I don't even think I have it now. I kind of got into them. Like, I got into them because I heard their single off of that on the radio, right? So that's how I found out about them. But in their 2007 Funeral for Yesterday was the first album that I got, and I really got into them. So once I decided to kind of go back and be like, well, what else have they released? I got to encounter new albums. I think In the Black, I Failed You. Really cool stuff. I recommend you guys check it out. The next single on there is it's from a band called Skinny Puppy. Skinny Puppy was a favorite of mine back in the day. I basically discovered industrial music, I want to say, because of the music video for Wish by Nine Inch Nails on MTV. I saw that and it kind of blew my mind, and I wanted to find more music like it. I believe that I signed up for Columbia Record House or Columbia Music or whatever it was, and got their 5 CDs for 10 cents each or whatever the deal was back then, if you guys are old enough to remember those. And yeah, I got Too Dark Park and Last Rites from Skinny Puppy. Sight unseen, I think I just read that it was music like Nine Inch Nails, and that was enough for me, and it's awesome, right? I haven't like delved way into their back catalog from then. I did get Vivisect, which is good, but I kept up with the albums they released, after that. But anyway, they went through a rough period. They after their album The Process, which I think was in 1999, one of their band members passed away, and things were just weird. But they kind of reformed again in like 2003. Dave Ogilvy, I don't think has been in the band since then. But at any rate, their new stuff is still cool, right? They started releasing new albums. Greater Wrong and the Right, Mythmaker, I think. There was another album I kind of after that they sort of were going under the radar for me. And that's why I missed 2 albums. I still need to check out one. But their last album is Weapon. That was released in 2013. And the single I picked off of it is Plastic Cage. And it's such a head bopper. Their particular brand of industrial can be an experience, right? It's just great. If you guys have never heard Skinny Puppy before, you can listen to this song, and if you dig it, you will dig other things that they've done. It's really fun. The whole album is great. I just got it. I've been listening to it in the car, and I just love it. So Weapon from Skinny Puppy is super cool. Oh yeah. So the next one is Static X. Again, I was not exactly young when Static X had their debut. Yeah, they were formed in 1994, but Wisconsin Death Trip, their kind of debut album, didn't come out until 1999, and it's great. Like, they call them as having kind of like a heavy metal, like a heavy industrial sound. They're very like industrial metal adjacent, right? I think Wayne Static used to describe it as evil disco, right? They're great. I don't know. Wisconsin Death Trip just came out, and I was immediately enamored. So so I've got an album. This is actually it's signed by the band. This was from their Cannibal tour. This is the album Cannibal. That was in 2007, also. And it was great. Like, I got to see them play live. It actually wasn't even like far from here, and which is a little unusual. But they were fantastic. They were on their way up to to Montreal, I think, and it was super cool. They actually played with In This Moment, who had like just started, right? They nobody knew who they were, and that was cool. I got In This Moment, their album too, when I was at that show. Anyway, so the song on here is Terminator Oscillator. Now, this is from much more recently, from 2020, so just a few years ago. Unfortunately, Wayne Static passed away. The whole band was like a big hiatus from like 2009 to 2020 because Wayne passed away in 2014. He was like only 48 years old. Anyway, it was drug related, I think, and it's hard, right? And I like, because I liked this band so much, right? And a lot of people did. It had a lot of fans. Tony Campos, the bassist, went on to be the bassist for Ministry, which is awesome because Ministry is my favorite band. And anyway, in 2020 they decided to do this Project Regeneration. It's basically, I look at it as sort of like a tribute to the band, right? They kind of got back together and a tribute to Wayne, right? But I mean, it's also like, I think the band members, I mean, again, like every band has a story of just like struggle, right? And I know Static X did too, but they got through it. And that album I've listened to a ton, and it's really good. I think that they wanted to do more Static X, and I think fans wanted to hear more Static X, and they made more Static X. And some bands can survive the loss of their frontman, and it seems like Static X may have done that. So, they got together. I think the guy has just gone by Zero, right? I know that he has a name. It may or may not be, have been revealed yet, but I wouldn't mind. I would like for the lead singer, the kind of the new frontman of Static X to be named and to be, like that would be okay. He could take over the band, I think, at this point, kind of be the front man, in Wayne's place. I think that, we're at a point where that can happen. So I think that they're actually coming out with another new album, Project Regeneration Volume 2 this year. It looks like is according to Wikipedia. So I'm really looking forward to that. The next song is, I forget if I mentioned, I think I'm fighting a cold, so if I sniffle, I apologize. Oh, this is super cool. Yello. You guys know Yello. I mean, maybe not everybody does, but you might know Yello if you don't know that you know Yello. So that song that goes, oh yeah, if you guys remember from it's like, I think it was from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It was featured in a Twix ad. That's Yello, right? And that might just lead you to believe that it's some one-off goofy thing, right? But they've been making music consistently for decades, right? They're awesome. And there was really just one album that I think it was the album that has that song on it that my buddy had, which we listened to a bunch in high school, or at least when I was in college or something. It was back in the day. And anyway, so I listened to more of their discography, right? I think they're super cool. I go through phases where I'm just like, I want to listen to Yello. And of course, they released an album in 2020, right? So it's called Point. The song that I put on here from that is called Wabba Dubba Duba. It's great. They're great. I consider them industrial adjacent, right? It's like electronic music, but I mean, industrial is electronic music, right? It just sort of has a, kind of a particular philosophy, sometimes comes from certain music scenes or whatever. Yello is honorarily industrial. They literally have a couple songs that I'm like, you could tell me that was on a, KMFDM album or something, and I wouldn't. I would believe you, right? They're super cool. And anyway, honestly, this album I didn't really notice until I started doing this video, right? And I wanted to have 10 bands on here. But I love I think they're 71 and 78 respectively, right? And they're still releasing albums. I mean, a few years ago. So you guys should definitely check it out. The song is super cool. It's very Yello, so if you've I don't know, never heard them before somehow, check it out. It's fun. So the next one on here, Rob Zombie. Again, I assume a lot of people know Rob Zombie. Not everybody, maybe. The band White Zombie. That was, I don't know when that was. It was in the 90s, right? And they broke up, and Rob, Zombie went on to keep making music. I think right now his lineup is pretty much like ex-members of Marilyn Manson, right? So, correct me if I'm wrong, but for a little while now, Rob Zombie has been Rob Zombie fronting ex-Marilyn Manson, right? And it works great. It's awesome. I got to see them play, I don't remember when it was. It was a while back. Maybe in 2012 or 13 or something like that. And anyway, they were totally cool. It was super fun. I mean, honestly, Rob seemed a little pissed about so, being where he was to a certain extent, so certain things about the venue and stuff like that. But it was still a fun show. It was really cool. And anyway, so this album, let me look it up. Yeah, so this is got a great name. It's the Lunar Injection Kool-Aid Eclipse Conspiracy from 2021. The song that I put on this mix is Crow Killer Blues. That's sort of like kind of like the single, I think, from this album. But the fun thing about this album is it's great. There's a bunch of super cool songs on it. There's a couple songs. I have a thing with sing-songiness, right? And a handful of the bands that I listen to are not, innocent of doing a sing-songy song now and then. It's not the only kind of songs that I skip, but it's kind of one of the major things that'll turn me off. There are, I think, 2 sing-songy songs on this album. But there's a ton of tracks on it, kind of like vocal tracks, and then they'll do like a little instrumental track in between them, which is fun. I really like that. It's not great to listen to in the car. I mean, I still listen to it in the car. I listened to it in the car for months, but I would just skip through the instrumentals typically. But if you're just listening through the whole album, it's really neat. And yeah, so like there's just a bunch of fun songs. The Satanic Rites of Blackula, something about the Howling Man and stuff. There's a bunch of really neat songs on it, and you guys should check out Crow Killer Blues. Like it's super cool. Frontline Assembly. This is probably kind of what started me on this journey a little bit, is because I wanted to listen to some new music. Except that I don't really want to listen to new music. I want to listen to like new music that reminds me of old music. So I looked up Frontline Assembly on YouTube, and guess what? They released an album, Mechanical Soul, in 2021, and I had missed that they had released that. The first album of theirs that I got was Millennium. That was from 1994. Again, a little bit later for me. By 1994, I was like a senior in high school, and I didn't necessarily keep up with them either after that. It's a really cool album, but I didn't really start getting Frontline Assembly albums until Epitaph, which was in 2001, Civilization in 2004, Artificial Soldier in 2006. Those are kind of like probably the main Frontline Assembly albums that I've had. Now, what that means is there's a whole lot of Frontline Assembly for me to still dive into if I want, and I think I'm going to, because I love them. I love all of the albums that I've, heard, and they've been making albums, again, for decades, since the 80s, and they're really consistent. They've released Mechanical Soul's the 17th full-length studio album by Vancouver industrial band Frontline Assembly. So it was released in January 15th of 2021. Yeah, and it's super cool. This has, it's got somebody from Front 242, I haven't listened to, enough of. I should definitely check them out. Somebody from Fear Factory, which is a cool band. I had an album or 2 of theirs. Yeah, there's a remix from one of the previous albums and stuff like that. Anyway, though, it's great. I love this. I believe this features Bill Lieb, who, again, like I said, had been in Skinny Puppy at one point. And anyway, I put on here Glass and Leather. This song stuck out to me immediately. I don't know what it is. I really like it. The funky beat, it immediately catches you, and you're just like, what is this? It's super cool. And they've got these whispered vocals, and they're really weird because it's about driving naked in his car. And there's not many lyrics. It's just, I'm driving naked in my car. The glass and leather will take me far. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. You guys should definitely check it out. And the whole album is super good. I really, really, really like Mechanical Soul. So yeah, I'm really glad that I decided to check and see what Frontline Assembly was doing. Next is my favorite band. Yeah, Ministry. So Ministry, again, these bands they've been around. They've been around the block. And Uncle Al has got to be getting old. Let me look. Yeah, Al Jurgensen, Uncle Al, 64. So he's 64 and still rocking, absolutely. So their latest album, I actually have it here, is Moral Hygiene. And the reason why I have albums like on CD, because I get everything digitally these days, right? So I've been getting their merch, and that they actually sent me this by accident. I think I bought the shirt for this, and they sell shirt CD bundles. I think they accidentally just sent this to me as if it were the bundle. So anyway, thank you. I think I mentioned this before, so I think when I was talking about pickups at one point. But yeah, this is a great album. It's super cool. This features Jello Biafra from the Dead Kennedys, or just Dead Kennedys, I kind of forget. He has not always been like my favorite vocalist, let's say, but he's great. Like, he's super cool. A great lyricist. Just, I mean, seems like an interesting guy. I guess I don't know anything about him personally. Good politics, I guess I would say. And yeah, so he's here on, what is it, Sabotage is Sex. Lard is a side project between with Jello and Ministry. Like, they've been thicker than thieves for a long time. But anyway, the song that I put on this mix is Alert Level. That's the opener for this album. I really like it. It's really doomy. It's like, are you, how concerned are you, right, is one of the refrains, and let's get ready to die. It's really, really doomy, but I mean, I think we're in a really doomy time, right? We just are. So that's one of the things I like. Ministry is really topical. I think they always are singing about what's going on. They're not, shy about their politics. I think it's easy for people to just overlook it, right, and just not see it. But it's always really there, and I really, really like them and this band and that song and this album. So that's why it's on this mix, and it was released just a couple years ago. Oh, this is fun. Next is Scum of the Earth singing Ziggurats of Mesopotamia, which are a real thing. I didn't realize that Ziggurats of Mesopotamia are ziggurats that were built in Mesopotamia. So, but anyway, the music video for this is really like Ancient Aliens inspired, right? And I love it. It's so Scum of the Earth is Riggs, Rob Zombie. So if you guys noticed how Rob Zombie's sound on his solo albums changed after, like, the Sinister Urge, more or less, Riggs left the band, right? Mike Riggs. And he started doing, like, a solo project called Scum of the Earth, and it's basically Rob Zombie. Like how he used to sound. So again, I was sort of like talking, I'm like, hey, we can get beyond Hellbilly Deluxe. Well, you can't. If you can't get beyond Hellbilly Deluxe, check out Scum of the Earth. They're super cool. What's really fun about this single is, I keep expecting, because there was like a couple Scum of the Earth albums. I might only have one of them. I kind of forget. I need to get the other one if I don't have it. And I keep expecting a new album, right? Because there was a new single 4 or 5 years ago, and I noticed that, and I was like, oh sweet, there's gonna be a new album. And then there was a new single just this past year. It was 7 months ago, so it was in 2022 that this song was released. He's just doing singles, right? Like, it's kind of the conclusion that I'm coming to. So, I'm sure, like, I have no idea how any of this new, Spotify, I don't know how any of that stuff works, so I apologize. I'm old, just forgive me. So, probably if you just listen to it on there or something, you can just add it to your list of stuff. You can listen to it on YouTube. And probably, I'm assuming you can just buy the singles if you want them. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I'll like look on Amazon or something, see if you can just buy the singles. But anyway, this song is super fun, right? It's I'm so glad that, like, we're still getting, some singles from Scum of the Earth in 2022 of all things. It's a blast. So you guys should check that out. Yeah, next is one of my favorite bands, as all of these are. But the Birthday Massacre. I have been keeping up with their music. I think the first song I encountered them on is Blue, maybe, from whenever that was. Yeah, Blue was on Violet, I believe, which is from 2004. So again, not, again, I wasn't like young when this came out. I was an adult. But yeah, I got into this band, And I feel like kind of their first couple albums, Nothing and Nowhere and Violet, like were a little hit or miss for me. But I definitely like a lot of individual songs off of that. And I think once you get to like Walking with Strangers, like I was on board, and all of their albums since then have been super cool. So whenever a new one comes out, I'm just like, sign me up. So Fascination, this came out in 2022. Yeah, I put on Stars and Satellites. It's just a standout track to me. It's got pretty much everything that I like about the Birthday Massacre, right? They have a really kind of 80s sort of techno pop, like nostalgia sound to them, right? And also this really kind of like, I don't know, dark gothic, like epic feeling with like sometimes heavy guitars, sometimes not. And, the Stars and Satellites has those heavy guitars, kind of has those guitar riffs like from Blue and stuff too. So I really like it. But the whole album is super cool. Another cool thing about the Birthday Massacre is that they have worked with Dave Ogilvy, who was previously a member of Skinny Puppy, in some capacity in terms of like producing their albums. I'm not sure exactly, what it is that he did, but he seems like he's worked with a lot of bands, kind of, helping make their albums, right? So I don't know the details of it, but it's all a lot of it's connected. I feel like they're making a lot of cool music up there in Canada. I don't know. If we weren't in the middle of a pandemic still, as far as I'm concerned, I would, maybe I should just head up there and try to catch the Birthday Massacre performing live, and some of these cool bands that I like. But anyway, yeah. So the last song on here is from another really new album, which I also have physically. KMFDM. Hyena. This one I purposefully got as a bundle with the shirt because after I was mistakenly sent a CD bundled with a shirt, I decided, you know what, I want to get the shirt. I might as well get the CD because I think it was like a deal, right? So I figured, what the heck. I don't like taking up shelf space with CDs, but for crying out loud, it's KMFDM. This album is amazing. The song that I put on here is really interesting. The whole album is really interesting. The song that I put on here is All Wrong But All Right. Is easily my standout favorite. And maybe it's a deep cut, I don't know. I feel like the title track, Hyena, is probably like the one that you would listen to just kind of like be like, what is this album about? And like, what does KMFDM sound like typically and stuff like that. But it's so good. It's so good. I wish I knew what the rhythm, what the beat is called, because it's like some kind of techno beat, and I should be, I'm familiar with it. I've heard it in other stuff. I feel like it's not the typical kind of beat that KMFDM is going to go with. And another really unique thing about this song is there's a bunch of lyrics in Turkish, right? I was listening to it, and I'm like, I do not think this is English, and then I looked it up, and I found the lyrics. I put the lyrics in Google Translate, basically, because I'm like, what even are these? And they're like, it's Turkish. They're saying, like, I'm falling down, or something like that. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, it's such a cool song. Just listen to it. It's the last song on this, mix, this playlist, if you've made it this far for some reason. Check out these songs. And KMFDM just in general. I mean, I admit, I didn't really get into them until a little later. It was, I think, their 1998 album, Symbols. I think I kind of got on a whim. It was like in the industrial section of like a used CD shop, and I mean, I probably got it in 2000 or something, and I was like, oh, let me check this out. Because it was KMFDM, and I'd heard of them, and I'd heard, whatever, Virus or something off of the Wax Trax Black Box. And I was blown away. It was great. Yeah, so I don't know what we have to look forward to in 2023. A new Static X album, it seems like, so that's great. I'm all for that. I am sad that Wayne Static is not here to be making that album, right? But the guys that are, I think, are doing a great job continuing the legacy of the band. So that's all. I know this is super long. I just, I don't know, maybe some of you guys just like hearing me blab on about stuff. That's that's all I ever did with this. Again, like I said, we're on them tube, and you know, everybody's out there hustling, trying to get their YouTube money, and it's different. So anyway, I'm just making a vlog once in a while. So hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you guys later.